All right, good afternoon. I get the coveted after lunch spot. I'm Andrew Jacobs with Confluent. I'm very excited to be here to talk about how Confluent and IBM can help to power your agentic AI with real-time data. So if you look back over the last couple of years, I think a lot of us have probably been playing around with Gen AI. I know a lot of you are still eating, but I'm curious if I can get a show of hands. How many of you guys have used Gen AI at work? All right, so the other half are probably eating. It's about half. Yeah, it's a fantastic tool, right? So we use it to summarize reports, write emails, find bugs in our code, even write code. And so as we're using that to be able to generate text, the next step is using AI to be able to generate action, right? So that's where agentic AI comes into play. And so if you look at what the possibilities are there, you can think of Gen AI as that really smart expert that you can just ask anything, right? Agentic AI is that worker who you can give a task and they'll complete it for you. So you can ask them to go do some research. You can ask them to complete a form, and instead of having to have a human be the one to run that form to completion or that process, that agent will do it on your behalf. So how many of you are using agentic AI at work already? We got one. Not surprising, a couple. It's very new. And so let's start with talking about the core problem, right? So why is it that this is not more widespread? So the bottom line is enterprise IT systems weren't built to handle the AI era, period. So if you look up here, you can see the IDC estimates that there are going to be 1 billion applications that are created in the next couple of years. The data for those applications are going to be spread across everywhere, right? And so the impact of that is it's going to be harder and harder to be able to innovate and be able to get all of this data to the right place in the right time to the right people. So the good news is when we start to design our data so that it's ready for AI, we can start to unlock a lot of that mission value immediately. One of the first things is we can deliver that data faster. So instead of having a lot of those brittle point-to-point connections, we can get the data to where it needs to be 5 times faster. We can increase the trust because you've got fresh contextual data by up to 40%, they say, over like conventional RAG. And all of that is going to lower your costs. The problem is this huge gap. The gap exists when we're taking things that we see in a demo and we're trying to get them into production, right? So Gartner estimates that 60% of the demos that you've seen, organizations are going to abandon. Why? A bad model? No. It's because it's really hard to get the right data to that models. So you can kind of think of this as like a demo as being like a Hollywood movie set, right? You stand it up, it all looks perfect and amazing, but it's not real, right? It's a facade. Real life is complex. Real life, you have to deal with FedRAMP. You have to deal with zero trust. You have to deal with getting ATOs. You have to deal with governance. You have to deal with all of these other things that you can just paint away on your Hollywood set. So you can't take that demo that you have created and plop it into like a DoD classified network, right? It's just not going to work. And so fundamentally, we believe that every AI problem is actually a data problem. So where does this stem from? It stems from how our IT systems are built. And this isn't new, right? All of us, I think, have seen versions of this kind of diagram before. If this is what your enterprise architecture looks like, you got a whole bunch of different systems, right? They all have data. It's really important. And so how do we try to solve that? We build ETL solutions. We put them into like a data warehouse, right? So what's the problem there? The challenge when you're trying to operationalize this is you've now got stale context. So I don't know how many of you have been unfortunate enough to like be rebooked on an airline because there was bad weather or something. Today, it stinks, but you call an agent, you get on a new flight. Imagine in the future where you're trying to do that and you have an agent, and that agent is getting data that's 6 hours old. How many times will they have rebooked the same seat? Right now, that's kind of a silly example, but think about FEMA. If they're trying to optimize logistics during a hurricane, if something is happening on a DoD network and there's some sort of an event that requires action, what if we deal with them 6 hours later? Like, that's a mission failure. And so in order to get this right, we need not just more data to our AI models, we need fresh data that's trusted and getting there at the right time in the right place. The other thing is it's really hard to keep these architectures together, so it makes it harder to innovate. As these new applications are being built, new data is being generated, it makes it hard to do that. So I'm with Confluent. Confluent actually was just acquired by IBM, so we're now IBM Confluent. If you don't know who Confluent is, we are the company that was created by the founders of the Apache Kafka project. And so we handle like the largest, most secure, complex organizations with their real-time data streaming needs. So we know how to pull this off. And we're really excited to now be a part of IBM because Confluent's really good with real-time data and getting it to the right place at the right time. And IBM is amazing at having that orchestration and governance and lineage to build that trust on top of it. So we're really excited about these capabilities, not just from a data standpoint, but also this can work everywhere. So it's not just in the cloud, it can be on-prem, out at the edge. You can deploy these suites of capabilities. And so it really is something that's better together. We've always kind of talked about how Confluent is the central nervous system for data. So our customers have been building data pipelines with Confluent that's sending data to their operational applications, their analytics, to their microservices, and now it's just as easy to send it to their AI applications. And on the IBM side, they add in that trust, that governance, the orchestration to everything that we can do. And this all comes to life through Confluent Intelligence. So I don't have time for a demo. I've already kind of bagged on demos as being fake, so I'm not going to show you one today. But I want you to imagine like some sort of a data pipeline in your agency, something you're familiar with, right? I want you to imagine it going into Confluent and going to wherever you need it in the organization, microservices, other operational applications, analytical applications. And then I want you to imagine you can just plug into that real-time data pipeline machine learning algorithms that look for anomalies. And when we find one, we're not just going to put it somewhere in a log where someone looks at it the next day. We're going to deal with it in real time with a streaming agent where we can look up the context, we can send it over to Watson X, and it can be dealt with in real time. And that's how we have the mission impact. That we are able to take data, add it in real time, and be able to get you into production. So there's some great resources here. In my parting words, I'll just ask you, think about, as you go back to your agencies, as you go back to where you're going, if you have an agentic AI application, how old is the data that that's acting on? And if it's longer than you want, there are solutions out there that are going to be able to enhance the trust that you have in that. Thank you for your time today. Hope you enjoy the rest of AIScoop.